My family artifact is a collection of photographs of a barn in my family. My grandmother on my father's side has possession of these photos. The photos that my grandmother has were taken between the years 1896 and 1903. The barn was built in Withee, Wisconsin. Withee is located 137 miles from Minneapolis, Minnesota. During that time, farming was a large part of life. My family was big into dairy farming. My family would take the milk produced by their cows and sell it in Minneapolis. This was how they contributed to society and how they made an income. The barn in this photograph was built in 1897. Barns during the 18th century were used for a variety of purposes. They used them to hold hay and to hold cattle. My family used the barn to hold cattle. During this time, gambrel barns were of popular demand. Gambrel roofs were used because of the advantages they held. One of the advantages was that it allowed for the roof to be slanted but still grant headroom. This was useful for barns because it established more space for both the farmers to put hay and in the upstairs area. The gambrel style was very useful for their dairy farm. The photograph itself also holds some history. Back in the 1800s, photography was just beginning. In 1826, Niepce took the world's first photograph. He used the process of camera obscura. It is literally a dark room or a box with a small hole in one wall. An inverted image from outside the hole would appear on the opposite side. Then later, in 1877, he took the world's first colored landscape photograph. When my family's photo was taken of the barn, landscape photography was recently new. Some of the photos in the collection could be considered artifacts to the world of landscape photography and to photography itself, seeing how it was a new technological advance. Life during the 1800s was prosperous. The American urban population was growing rapidly. This was when machinery and industrialization were on the rise. People began to migrate west on the search for free land. The majority of them were farmers. The West was said to have heavy rainfall, which would lead to good farming conditions and flourishing crops. But many returned to the East after experiencing droughts that resulted in dwindling crops. Although this was the era of the introduction to machinery, farmers remained set on doing things independently. The Blunk family originated from Germany. They set sail for America in 1883. Before coming to America, some of the Blunks lived in New Munster-Schleswig-Holstein, a province of Germany. Living there was John Detlef Blunk, his mother Mary Hildenberg, his brothers Hans and Joachim Blunk, and his sister Mrs. Anna Beal. John's mother, Marie, lived with them until they came to America. John's wife was Catherine Johnson before marrying Marie. Catherine had 2 sisters and 1 brother. Her brother lived near their home, but her 2 sisters lived elsewhere. John was born April 27, 1835. Catherine was born November 16, 1834. They were married December 11, 1856. Catherine and John had 5 children as follows, in order as born: Jonas, Alowena, Lenora, Anna Magdalene, Henry, and then Mary Elise. Jonas, or John as they preferred to after arriving in America, was born on November 22, 1864. This artifact pertains to the settling of his family and the development of their farmstead. Jonas's family settled in Iowa when coming to America. He wrote to a girl in Germany by the name of Dora Thormalin. He suggested that when Dora's family arrived at the seaport to board the ship, Dora should take the lead so as to retain the rest of the family from going way down into the hull of the ship. John knew that Dora struggled with asthma problems, so he wanted her to have fresh air. Dora's mom thought that she was disobeying orders after not following instructions to keep moving down. But the Thormalin family was lucky enough to have their family quarters near the top deck of the ship. The children were able to play away the hours stuck at sea. Dora had 2 sisters, one by the name of Tenna and one by the name that is unknown. Tenna was 3 years old and the other 11 years when they sailed to America. Once the Thormalins arrived in the United States, they settled in Withee, Wisconsin. John wished to go see Dora in August, and his sister Anna Magdalene joined him. On April 15, 1888, John and Dora were married, as were Anna Magdalene and Dora's brother Karsten. Dora and John ended up having 7 children. Both the Blunks and Thormalins were new to the United States, and they had just taken a long voyage across the Atlantic to get here. So they focused on beginning their farmstead. They decided to settle and begin building in Withee, Wisconsin. With them, they had a large group of family living and helping them develop it. The barn was one of the first things built on the farmstead. It was built in 1897. It first originated as a small barn-type shed. Then, in the later years, they added on to it to make it bigger. At some point during the years 1886 through 1903, the families living there helped clear stumps on the farmstead so they could continue building. They used this barn to set up a dairy farm. The milk that they sold was how they received an income. The Blunk-Vermeulen family lived a long, happy life in Wisconsin. After the death of John, Dora moved to Bridger, Montana. All of the other Vermeulens had moved to Bridger, so in 1903 she followed. Dora soon after died in Bridger. Both John and Dora were reunited at their burial grounds in Withee, Wisconsin. The photographs that my grandmother has were the original copies. It came from Dora to my dad, then from my dad to me, so that's an original picture, Jean Paul said. The photographs that were taken in the early stages of the barn and of the farmstead at different periods in time were thought to maybe have been professionally done, but we are still unsure who actually took them. I kind of think they had a professional come in and take it. When you look at the picture, I don't think an amateur could have done it, Jean said. They will hopefully be passed down to future generations as well. Hopefully the barn will always stand as a monument of where my family originated in America, but if not, I will always have the stories and pictures that tell the Blunk-Vermeulen family history.